right, let's go. Well, hi-de ho. Welcome to Beers with Nigel, a podcast about beer and other stuff. I'm Nigel with my homeboy. What would you call should we call you a co-host or the partner in crime, Nick Parker? What would you call you?
Well, I like the use of the word crime. Co-host is awful nice.
That seems a little fancy for you, doesn't it?
I'm not real fancy. Wait a minute. Pinky.
What is that in that can? What are you drinking?
This would be Hy-Vee grapefruit flavored water. So sparkling water.
Yeah, we're going to upgrade you here in a couple seconds.
I'm hoping. Like I've gone through. This is my fourth interview since 4 o'clock or fourth conversation that I'm recording.
So you're saying
none of them have included
beer
or booze.
Well, you need to work on that.
Yeah,
that's why I'm here.
I'm
here for you to end your day correctly.
Thank you, sir.
So
thank you, sir. May I have another?
Thank you. You can have another. Thank you for showing up again. What is this, fifth episode 5?
This is Act 5.
Act 5.
I like calling. I don't know. It makes it seem like it's more fun.
5 act or is it show?
I say act. I label them all act when I upload them. Well, they're probably
installment.
Installment. That's awful official.
Yeah, that makes it official.
Yeah.
Hey, let's introduce our guests. We've got Brad Bain and Brian Freimiller from Grains and Taps in downtown Lee Summit. Welcome to the show, guys.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you. Good to be here.
I think this is awesome. I mean, because these are the originators of the show title, right?
No, these absolutely, and these are the OGs in craft beer in downtown Lee Summit.
That's right.
I mean, as far as taproom goes, Brad, how long has it been?
We've been in downtown Lee Summit since summer of 2013, so we're coming up on our 7th anniversary in a couple months.
See, OGs.
Right. Brad's going to have to talk a little louder.
I'm on it.
There we go.
He's doing that smooth jazz voice. It's fine. You want to hear someone play some Kenny G, Brad? we can do that. So we always ask guys about your beer history. Brad, what was your first craft beer? Do you remember?
My first craft beer was probably Boulevard, and that was, it dates back to late teens, early 20s.
You were drinking in your teens?
I was not.
Police are coming.
But that's the beers I knew of craft beer. And at the time, you didn't have the number of craft breweries we have now in Kansas City. It was Boulevard, and that was the go-to for craft beer. And then you had the other regional breweries that were getting brought in to this area.
Do you remember what beer you thought, oh, this is my jam?
It probably just started with, Boulevard Wheat, the flagship from there, and then it moved on to Tank 7 and similar, other beers from there.
Brian, what about you?
Is Boulevard Wheat, is that like the kiddie pool of craft beer in Kansas City? Is that like the entry?
No, back in the day when it was that was it. I mean,
right.
that was you didn't. What else did you have? Right?
Yeah. Well, that's what you said earlier. Michelob Ultra.
No, Ultra. No, that came later. I'm talking about the real Michelob. Remember the Michelobs with the foil on top of the bottle?
Right. Yeah,
remember those?
Yeah.
But that was before it was called craft beer.
It had that kind of angled shape.
Absolutely.
On the top there.
But that wasn't called craft beer back then. That was probably premium beer.
It's true.
You know what I'm saying? It was premium.
Sure.
So, what about you, Brian? What was your first foray into craft beer as you know it?
I would say probably my first one was when I started homebrewing. I mean, I've been drinking well before then, but I would say first into craft beer, that like one beer would probably be Fresh Squeezed.
Oh, yeah, right.
I remember having that beer actually at Grains and Taps before I started working there and thinking to myself, I want to make this beer.
Quit whacking the table.
And have the ability to make that. So
He's using his hands.
I do. I talk with my hands.
That's fine,
high.
but just keep them up high.
Up high, above the waist.
So there you go. Look at Brad. Interrogation. So how long have you guys known each other? I'm curious.
7 years. It's probably about as long as I've been brewing.
So yeah, he was coming in to buy homebrew supplies from us right from the start. Maybe even a little bit before we got the liquor licenses and before we had actual craft beer in the homebrew supply store.
Yeah, I think one of my first visits there was no beer being served. It was all just kind of the hobby side of it, the retail side of it. So 7 years, and then I've been working with Grains and Taps for 6 years now,
right.
A solid 6 years.
So your other partner, Brad, Brian, you guys, at what point did you decide, hey, let's open a business? Because I've been around you guys forever, but I'm curious to know that story.
So I started home brewing with a group of guys I worked with. It was one guy I worked with, and he was a home brewer, and he invited about 8 of us over to his house one Saturday and said, "I'm going to teach you all how to brew beer."
Wow.
And we really liked it because it was a day of drinking beer, which
It's not a bad day.
wasn't hard to get anybody to
Sounds
sign up
perfect.
for. So I kind of then took the hobby and started doing it at home on my own, and pulled Brian Bixby into it. Brian had been my friend since growing up, but was kind of frustrated that there was nowhere in the immediate vicinity to buy the supplies for
Right.
for making beer.
Right.
So we had the idea of there has to be more people in Lee Summit doing this same hobby that would benefit from some kind of local supplies being available.
Right.
So
I'm going to stop you right there because we haven't cracked a beer yet.
That's true.
This is
Yeah.
Beers with Nigel. So, Brian, you want to do the
let's
honors?
do it. I'm just going to start.
Sure. Whatever you want to grab. What do we have here? To give us an idea of what we have.
You want me to go down the list of all of them? that we have, or
No,
just
the
first
one you open. Sure, the one you
Okay,
open.
all right. The first one I'm going to open is going to be our American Lager, One More. Here we go. See if I can get this.
Oh, nice.
Nice.
That's quality sound right there.
That
So,
felt
yeah.
good.
Yeah.
while he pours, I'm going to give a quick reminder to him to keep that microphone in front of his mouth when he talks.
Oh. this close?
Yeah.
Is that
yeah.
better?
Yeah.
Rest
You
it
can-
on my chin?
Well,
or just scoot it up. That way, it's right in front of your face.
I feel like it is in front of my face.
It's
right
no, it's below your chin, sir. You're tall. There you go.
there we go.
There you go.
Yeah.
We don't need to see your mouth.
Oh, okay.
But,
It
yeah.
sounds weird. So Brad, so you started the store, a little bit of short history. You got some taps.
we started it with the idea: don't just make it a retail store, make it somewhere where people can come and gather. So in addition to having the supplies and the retail items to brew your own beer, we also brought in craft beers from local and breweries all around the world, and said let's have a gathering place, not just a retail store. So that's
Right.
kind of how it all got started.
Because when you guys made the jump from the small space to the big space, that was quite the leap. I mean, that was pretty ballsy. What was that like for you guys?
We had kind of felt like we were outgrowing our smaller space, and whenever we'd have a big event or something, we were turning people away. So when a bigger space became available, we jumped on it and decided to move up and kind of expand our tap room. We went from I think 8 or 11 taps to
Right.
currently we have 25.
Right.
At that time, it was other people's craft beer. About a year and a half ago, we jumped into a whole nother realm of
Right.
why are we this crazy and started brewing our own beer. And
Right.
now it's all our beer on
So what was the decision? Because you guys were known as like the beer station of Eastern Jackson County, because you would come to your spot and have all sorts of beers. Now you've jumped to being a brewery of your own. That's a totally different animal. What went into that, and was that always the plan?
That was not always the plan, but it seemed to be the thing that we danced around the most. We were always doing things with homebrew. We were always doing, classes. Brian here leads all of our homebrew classes
Right.
and stuff. And it was always we were always tiptoeing around the process of brewing, everything to do with brewing.
Right.
Then finally, at one point, we had a fire, which basically wiped our whole building.
Oh, that's
clean.
right. The fire.
We looked at each other and we said, okay, at this point, we have a blank slate. What do we want to do with this business? And it was kind of clear that, if that was the point where if we wanted to become a brewery, it was then or never, because
Right.
we had our building empty, business stopped,
Right.
and so that's where we went from there.
So Brian, for you, are you considered the head brewer?
Yeah, I would say head brewer, lead brewer.
Okay.
I
So
go by either of those titles.
So I've known you for several years,
Yeah.
and I've known you to be a really good home brewer.
Thank you.
But making that leap to, I'm gonna do a 5-gallon batch to being the guy that's doing the beers. What was that? What was that like for you? Like I mean, a dream come true, scary, what?
Yeah, I mean, it was a little bit of everything. I mean, I'm super excited because it's always been kind of a daydream, to kind of do something like that. And having the opportunity that kind of Brad was talking about now that we were, a homebrew store and a tap room evolving into a brewery, it was nice kind of getting into that kind of groove and doing brewing commercially.
Right.
Going from, like you were saying, 5 gallons, maybe 10 gallons as a home brewer to our current system right now. We have a 2 barrel system, which, definitely significantly bigger than what I was brewing in my garage, but maybe not quite the size that you see a lot of the other breweries in the area have. So the learning curve was, I wouldn't say easy, but it was a very, it had a good flow kind of to the learning curve. So it was a lot of fun getting into it. And yeah, there was a little bit of anxiety, kind of making sure the beers were going to be up to par for everyone else to have, or for other breweries, kind of what they were brewing as well, kind of comparing them to those. So yeah, there was a little bit of nervousness kind of getting started, but after a first few months of having beers on tap and getting the feedback from guests and stuff like that, we kind of got into our flow, and yeah, it feels great, man.
What's the problem, Nick? You hear me breathing?
Is that what that is?
That's probably me breathing. Yeah, me
Yeah, it's
breathing.
you. Okay.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm breathing loud for some reason today.
I'm just trying to figure out what that sound was.
I was too. I'm like, what the hell is that? It's me breathing, apparently.
So here, if I do this,
Right. That sounds like. Just turn me off. It's fine.
I was just like periodically going through each microphone and seeing which one of us that was. It might be me.
It could be anybody breathing.
Right.
So let's fast forward to this week, and you guys as a small business owner, and when this COVID-19 situation going on.
Yeah, we're recording this right in the first week of all the closures.
Right. So as business owners, what's when that came down, what was the thought process?
It still feels like something out of a science fiction movie or something, because it's still hard to 2 weeks ago, who would have even believed, if you would have told them everything that was going to happen in the next over this past 5 days, that
Right.
quickly everything is going to shut down and come to a halt. You probably would have laughed at them, I think.
Well, we probably went from a fantastic night for you on Saturday night to today, and your bar is half a block from this studio. There's nobody.
Yeah, we're in all of everywhere, but all of downtown Lee Summit. That's usually quite a bit of foot traffic. People, there's every parking spot's empty, and you just every once in a while see a person walking by. So today was the first day of no sit down or dine in for any restaurant or bar in the metro area.
Right, which is crazy.
Right. So we spent this morning setting ourselves up we're doing carry out to go sales of pizza, and we've got 4 packs of beer and crowlers, and so we've been doing that. We're going to do that 4 hours a day for the rest of the weekdays this week, and then we'll be open for a few hours on Saturday and Sunday as well. But it has actually there's been a lot of people that have come in to get 4 packs, so they've been coming out, stocking up for quarantining themselves in their
Right.
home, and supporting small businesses. So it's been great to see everybody, to maybe stand a little bit further back and see
Right.
everybody,
Social
but see
distancing.
people nonetheless.
I was about to burp, and it
didn't happen.
No.
Man,
Party foul
Oh,
right there.
we are recording our burps.
Yes.
absolutely. Burps are encouraged.
I thought it was coming. I was waiting for it. No. Epic fail right there. So I guess you guys as business owners, I mean, obviously it's simple, support your local, right? I mean, that's how we're going to get through, this business here, is to be able just to, whatever places you were going to, still just go get the go beers and, support, local.
Yeah.
I mean, it's kind of cliche, but it's super important right now, support local, right?
Right, for sure.
Did you and the other owners kind of in the district, did you guys all get together? Like, what can we do? Or is it just you're all figuring it out as you go?
No, we definitely did, and the pub crawl was scheduled for Saturday, so that kind of spurred us. Thursday morning, we all met, and at the time there wasn't as much guidance out there. Now we've got the mandate that everybody's shut down for dine-in. Thursday we were just trying to guess what was coming, so we ended up modifying the pub crawl at first, and then on Friday, more and more direction came out from the county, which caused us to officially postpone the pub crawl. At that point, all the businesses were still individually open, and so technically, the pub crawl will be made up sometime late spring, early summer, whenever things return to normal. But it was kind of crazy having that discussion because nobody's ever been in this position before, really.
No, it's pretty.
This is all new.
It's pretty surreal. Like you said, it's kind of like a sci-fi movie where we're like, okay, what is this really happening? I mean, downtown Lee Summit is a ghost town, man.
Yeah, a little eerie.
Just a little bit, right? So, anyway, what are we drinking next?
Let's see.
We
Next,
should move on and somebody. Should I get a mystery beer?
Let's reach into the bag.
Yeah, I would love.
Let's
to
go. What do we got?
I love surprises. Let's do it.
I am anxious for them to see the golf bag. I love this thing. So, Nigel, hold that up to the camera there.
So this bag, apparently, Nick thinks it was stolen from a golf course. Does it look like it's from a golf course?
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, there's bottle. It's not just cans this time.
No, there's some tasters in there, but they brought 5011 things. So, but I do have a couple.
So I got to tell you. So my son listened to episode 1.
Oh, you let your son listen to the episode 1? Bloody hell!
Well, like
this is not safe for work.
They listen to everything, right? They hear everything we do. But so at first he was like, "Dad, you guys cuss a lot," and then it was, what the hell does shit ton mean? Well, he didn't say what the hell, but he asked, "What does shit ton mean?" And I said, "Well, listen to it again." He gives a definition.
Shit ton.
And what was your definition?
What was my? It's like
5011.
and
just my very logical son says, "Yeah, that doesn't help."
So I'm telling him to Google it.
What do we got here?
What we got?
We got astronaut cookies oatmeal stout. I'm already excited. Oatmeal stout. That sounds great.
What's the brewery and where's it from?
It is. Is that Neff?
Yep.
With the old man eyes here.
Neff means something. I can't remember. Does it say it on the back?
Let me look here. What do we got here? Dark roasted, nice and chocolate. Gosh dang. I'm old, guys.
Did you bring your readers? You have glasses on.
I have glasses on. It's not helping. And chocolate millet malts. What is millet? Is that our word of the day?
Millet?
Yeah.
Let's ask the brewer.
Brewer?
That might be a typo.
You think it's mullet?
Milled? Maybe?
Millet?
Millet.
That's a thing.
Millet is a type of grain.
We're gonna have a staff meeting later.
That's a good thing. We can just edit that out.
Millet malts, along with a healthy amount of toasted oats, make this beer taste like a dark chocolate chip cookie that was freshly dipped into the Milky Way.
You're excited?
I like that. That's well written.
Yeah. Astronaut cookies, that's the name of it?
Yes.
That sounds fun.
Let's crack it open.
Well, there we go. Okay, here we go.
Millets are a group of highly variable small-seeded grasses, widely grown around the world as cereal crops or grains for fodder and human food. Millets are important crops in the semi-arid tropics of Asia and Africa, with 97% of millet production in developing countries. Thanks to Wikipedia.
There you have it.
You're gonna have fun editing that, by the way.
I can just boost it. It's fine. It's fine. You want to hand us that can? We'll pour it over here since you're kind of far away there. Brian, you want to do the honors?
Yeah. Let's do it.
Do you guys have a favorite of all of the Grains and Taps beers that you're starting to brew? They're all fantastic, and I definitely have a favorite. There is one that I think may be a perfect beer. But do you guys have a favorite?
I have a handful of favorites, and it depends on the mood I'm in that day. Whether I'm into something more refreshing or something heavier. I would say my two favorites right now are our dry stout, which is a traditional dry stout. We've got it on nitro.
Yeah, it's a good one.
Very popular this time of year with St. Patrick's Day. We've also got, and it's coming up probably next from our beers, Jet Chip Wasp is our championship-inspired amber ale.
I was at the bar for picture day.
You were.
When Bix was taking pictures of that one.
Did they let you get into pictures?
No, he crops me out every time. I happen to, for some reason, I happen to show up a lot for picture time, and he never keeps me in the background. That's a smart decision.
He keeps you in his heart.
like I'm not saying that's a bad decision on his part, but yeah.
So let's talk about Kansas City beer for a minute. You guys being brewers and own a business, and 7 years ago, it was a different scene.
Absolutely.
It was a totally different scene. You fast forward to now, even just over here in Lee Summit. What has been your impression of the scene? Because a lot of people, I ran into a guy on Sunday from Utah, and the whole state of Utah has like 18 breweries. The whole state. People think, oh, we're saturated in Kansas City. I don't think so. I think we're behind the curve still. What do you guys think?
I think there's still room for more. And yeah, it's been. And you talk about starting 7 years ago. When we opened up as a craft beer bar, we've gotten to see all of these pop up, all of the breweries in Kansas City. Big Rip was in production
Right.
before we opened up, but other than that, I think
Right.
they were second to Boulevard and in recent time, in my memory.
Right.
I know there's been others in the past that are no longer active.
Well, we had a debate with Alana from 11-3KC about what's Metro. You remember that business?
Well,
about if you're going to count the breweries, how far are you going out? From the Metro.
Mhm.
Is Lawrence considered
No.
Metro? No.
now.
Weston, St. Joe.
St.
Ottawa?
I don't think
I overlook 75th Street, and so
Yeah,
my statement was not considering brew pubs and things like that.
Yeah, but even that, I tell people Boulevard obviously is the oldest.
Mhm.
Probably the next oldest might be Big Rip, maybe 7. Are they 7? I don't know.
Is there
I
that
would
big of
agree.
a discrepancy in year, like from when Boulevard started the next?
Boulevard started in the 80s.
Right,
So
right.
there's-
Yeah.
Again, if you count 75th Street Brewery, but nobody, it wasn't called craft beer then.
Right.
And I don't know about you guys. I went there, and that was, I was living in Westport at the time. I wasn't drinking that. I was like, what is this stuff? You know what I'm saying? Because I was uninitiated, right?
Mhm.
But you fast forward, and I think in the last 5 years, I think that's probably the brunt of breweries that have popped up in Kansas City. I
Mhm.
mean, even this side of the county, 3 years ago, what was it? Was there any over here? No. I mean, Fringe and Smoke, the A3.
The closest was Crane, and they opened
Right.
2014, 2015.
Well,
That's true.
there's KC
But-
Beer Company. I'm not sure when they opened up, but they've been around for a little while.
I think they might be maybe 5 years old, maybe 6. They just had an anniversary, didn't they?
Right.
They might be 5 years old.
Okay.
We need to. We talked about
We
doing.
should do a little research.
We've been talking about doing research.
How many of those came out of like the ZZ Hops and the other clubs?
No,
How many of those bars
yeah.
came out of
ZZ
that?
Hops is a prolific homebrew club, man. I'm
Mhm.
telling you. I that's one of the things I'm proud about being in ZZ Hops, which is, for those who don't know, it's the Eastern Jackson County Homebrew Club. There's a lot of stars that have come. I tell people all the time when I'm bartending, they're like, "Oh, I love Grains and Tabs." I'm like, they came out of ZZ Hops, right? What's that? So I get to brag a little bit. So that's kind of cool that a lot of our members have gone pro, if you will, and they're still going to go.
Right.
So I'm not sure if there's another club in the metro that has that many people that have gone that have become brewers. I mean, it's pretty phenomenal. We should do a documentary
Yeah.
There we
about all
go.
the guys
We'll
who've gone
Bring
pro.
back your old skills.
What old skills? What skill are you talking about?
Your video skills.
We'll get Ken Burns on it. Do a lot of slow zooming out.
Yeah, exactly. What do you guys think of this beer?
I really like
It's
it.
good. I can taste the millet malt. It's delicious. Now I know. Now I'll never forget.
Nick, how would you describe this?
You know what? It drinks almost like a cola of beers because it's kind of
It's
thin.
thin.
Yeah.
Oh, look at the heat. Look, he's got a term, thin. That's good. You're
Is that a real term?
Yeah,
I mean, I'm
absolutely.
just making this.
No, absolutely. it is.
I make this shit up as I go.
No, that's a real term. Thin.
But yeah,
Is it a porter or a stout?
well, porters are a thicker thing, right?
This is an oatmeal stout.
Wow. Yeah, that's pretty thin for a stout. And it does kind of have a
It's
cola.
thin
There's-
for a stout today. if you were drinking this 3-4 years ago,
Uh,
it would be a little bit thin. But
yeah.
I
It's-
feel like everything's kind of moved towards being a whole lot thicker than it was a few years
You
ago.
think?
I think so. I think that's kind of been the trend.
I'm
for
trying to think.
stouts.
Let's go back and think about what was a stout like 3 years ago.
Well, so when you say oatmeal stout, the first one that comes to my head is the Young's.
Young's double chocolate stout.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a good one.
And Samuel Smith has that
That's
oatmeal stout.
definitely thicker than that.
Yeah. Well, Samuel Smith has that oatmeal stout that's
Right.
thicker.
Right. No, this one is just. I mean, it's good, but it seems a little light.
A little light, yeah.
What's the ABV on that?
This is a 5% beer.
That seems about what
Yeah.
it should be based on. But it's still good.
Yeah.
Trust me.
I like it.
Trust me. The next one's a heavy hitter. So we're gonna go up. Okay, moving on. So we always talk about this. This is why. This is why.
We're gonna pause real quick.
Okay, what are we pausing about?
Brad's got to pop out. That door's gonna get loud. Lift and push.
Or just push. I didn't lock it.
Oh.
The Nigel Woodbury.
Oh, you got both names.
Right. These earphones are hot today.
That's warm in here.
It is. Warm.
All right, guys.
I'm off my switching game a little bit.
That's okay.
This is it. This is my moment. Brad's gone. This is where I shine.
This is his Eminem moment.
Ask me something. Ask me anything.
Who's your? Obviously, you work for a brewery.
Mhm.
Do you have some faves around town that you like? Oh, I kind of
Oh.
go back to them.
Yeah, I have a lot of favorites. I've got favorite beers at just about every brewery. So
What stands out in your mind? What pops up to your head?
oh man, you got to put me on the spot.
That's the point.
Well, let's do it. Let's do it this way. You go to KC Beer. What are you
Mhm.
ordering?
I get the Dunkel or the Pilsner
Okay.
for sure. Locally, Diametric, the TD Tossin Patrick
Right,
Mahazy.
right.
That's a great one.
Yeah.
Fringe, Madam X.
Yes.
Can't go wrong with
That's
that.
one of my
Madam X.
favorite ones there.
Yeah.
Let's see, Crane. Some of my favorite ones, the Tea Vice.
Oh yeah.
I grew up on Sun Tea, so that one hits home. I love it.
Reminds you of childhood.
It does. It does. Reminds me of growing up. Boulevard. I mean, just about anything from Boulevard. Tank 7 has got to be the one
Yeah.
that I love the most.
Yeah.
I think that's probably the most popular with a lot of people. That's the one I tell my girlfriend that if you're gonna go out and get me a beer to bring home, just bring me home some Tank 7.
Right.
And-
Can't go wrong with that.
Yeah, absolutely. Alma Mater. Their
Yeah.
Pilsner.
Yeah.
Pilsner there is fantastic. Anything really? I'm trying to think of one specific beer from Tony at Windshift.
Yeah. That's a hard one.
He makes so many great beers. Pretty much anything I go in there and try, I really enjoy his. But yeah, I mean, there's always something you can find,
Right.
at local breweries that just kind of stand out and that you kind of stick with and
Right.
you remember. So
What's it been like going from being a home brewer to now being a professional brewer? There's probably been a learning curve of some sorts. What's that been like for you?
yeah, I kind of alluded that to earlier. Going from like 5 barrels in your garage to our 2-barrel system right now. I mean, there's certainly a learning curve and things to get used to with that brewing setup, but we're pretty lucky to do that. There's not a lot of the changes as far as like scaling up recipe and stuff like that, but just getting better at like savings and margins and stuff like that,
Right.
like putting your recipe together. So one of the things as like a home brewer you would always do is, I mean, you pretty much do whatever you can, put whatever it takes to in your beer, to make it exactly what you want. And on the commercial side of it, you necessarily can't do just about everything. There's cost involved, and
Right.
that's going to affect your margins. And so you've got to get kind of creative in some aspects of kind of like scaling your recipes and brewing and just kind of your day-to-day process like that. So, yeah, I mean, there's a lot of similarities and a lot of differences in kind of home brewing and kind of where we're at right now at this 2-barrel brew house.
Right.
Was there one when you made that shift from home brewer to pro? Was there one that you couldn't wait to try, like one that you had at home?
Oh,
like
yeah, yeah.
I want to make this one big batch.
Oh yeah, absolutely. That was the red ale, Trains and Gaps, is what we call it now. But that's
a great one.
The red ale was one of the first ones that, as a home brewer, I loved to drink a lot, and I loved to brew that beer a lot just because of that reason. And so that beer, that recipe alone has evolved as I've evolved as a home brewer.
Right.
And so that was definitely one of the first ones I wanted to kind of get into the system when we started brewing. And so, and even since then, since we first started brewing it on day one, it still has kind of evolved and adapted from that to what we know it as of right now. And it's just one of my favorite beers, even on brew day. You know, that last hour of the day, I'll go up to the bar, pour a beer. You know, that's typically going for the red ale
Right.
at that point.
What's trains and gaps? So just rattle off some of these beer names for me.
They have great names.
Yeah, Trains and Gaps, Gully Womp, that's our stout. One More, that's the beer that we just had a little bit ago. That's our American lager. That was kind of like a nod to the guys at Diametric. They do the Mexican lager there called
Right.
One More.
Right.
So we kind of wanted to have some fun with that one. Neon Kittens, that was our New England IPA. That was the first New England IPA we did. Bigsby kind of spun off of that and came up with Puppies with Lasers. So that was another New England style that we did. We've actually got a new New England coming out pretty soon. It's going to be Arcade Llamas.
Nice.
Yeah, they kind of fun names to kind of go with that style. You know, it's kind of the beer in itself is kind of out of bounds as far as like the category itself. So those names kind of I think match that as well too.
So tell me about this meeting. You know, you have that meeting, and we're like, we're going to name a beer.
Mm-hmm.
What happens? Because some of these names you guys have,
Yeah.
they come out. I'm like, okay, what the hell is going on in this meeting?
Most of the time, we look the name up and somebody's already taken it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, we've had a lot of great names. that
But
never
even
made
if somebody's taking it, you still have to come with what it was. Puppies with lasers. It was something with blazers. It was. I'm
yeah.
like, is there like a powwow?
We
You guys
got it
sitting
here
there-
tonight. It's
Yeah.
Yuppies and Blazers.
That's yuppies and blazers.
we found a little vein there that nobody had touched, and so we just like went with it.
I mean, at this point, do you have a meeting just for rhymes?
I think they need to invite us to one of these meetings. I think we've got some good ideas, don't you?
I think there should be a contest on the show.
Oh, to
Name a beer.
Name a beer
Mhm.
for Grains
Yeah.
and Taps. I
There
think
we
so.
go.
That
You know,
would-
sometimes we come up with the name first and then have to have a beer that kind of goes with that name. Or
Oh,
other times we
really?
have the beer and then we have to find a name that goes with the beer that we already have. So it's really kind of a 50-50 mix. So the fun ones, I think, are the ones where you come up with the name and then you got to figure out what beer goes with that name. I think those are probably the best in my opinion.
right. That's pretty cool.
What would flavor would the Nigel be?
Yeah, because we've talked about this. You know, since you guys pretty much have the copyright to Beers with Nigel. For those who don't know, that became a thing at Grains and Taps. Should we give a shout out to what's his face, Vance?
I think Vance
Yeah,
coined
Vance.
it.
Well,
They came back with that
Yeah,
opener.
so
right?
yeah, he
Yeah.
came up with that opener because everybody thinks that looked
It was
like
a-
Obama.
Barack Obama.
Yeah. Do you know this story?
I kind of remember it, but I there's been a lot of drinking since then. That was a few years
Yes,
ago.
Yeah. So yeah, it was at the old location.
That was the first.
and there was a hashtag on the bottom of the thing, and we started twittering.
And there were
Beers with
t-shirts.
Nigel. Well, that came later after they moved, and Brad was like, "Hey, I think we could do
Were
some
T-shirts in the new place?
Yeah,
Oh yeah.
that was
Oh.
at the new place. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, was it Saturday night? I saw a couple of those T-shirts. They're
Oh,
still
yeah,
around.
yeah.
They're still around.
There's a
There-
few of them
I saw
still
There
Wow.
will
out
be
for
new T-shirts, by the way. There will be new Beers with Nigel
Yeah.
T-shirts.
So we figured we're gonna get some. Maybe you guys can do it. We can do a Beers with Nigel beer. I don't know what style it would be, but
But it sounds like a series of beers. Is what it sounds like to me.
I think so.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
It
There,
sounds
there
like,
you-
it
Big
sounds like
thinking.
more than one beer.
I like your
Yeah.
your style.
Yeah.
I like your style. Yeah, when I see somebody with that shirt, because even a lot of times at Bricks, somebody will be behind the bar and they'll be like, "Look, I got your shirt on." I'm like, "Holy hell!"
Have you signed one yet?
I've signed two.
Really?
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah, and they don't wear them. They
Was one of them
Man.
for a guy named John?
John Bedoin. Sorry, John. I wasn't going to mention your name in this episode, but Nick is already there. So, Brad, did you get that order taken care of?
I did. It was
Pizza order?
Mac Lampkin. He said he was going to give you a big hug for interrupting.
What is he doing?
Interrupting
Just
podcast.
Interrupting podcasts mostly.
Hi, Mac. We love you.
He's not on the phone anymore.
But he's going to listen to this, so at least a shout out to
Little love shout
Matt
out there.
Lampkin from Diametric Brewing.
I'm gonna crack another one.
What are we
guys.
cracking here?
This is Jet Chip Wasp.
Yeah, how did that name come about?
That is the name of the play that turned the big game around. That was the long pass from the 15 to Tyreek Hill
Oh,
in the fourth quarter.
Have you
was
not
the
watched
name of
the
the play.
mic'd up video from the Super Bowl?
probably.
You need to watch that because there's a great thread about him asking for that play.
So this is our championship inspired ale.
Got
This is
you.
the Jet Chip.
Got you. Fun fact: I was watching on HBO. There's that show that LeBron has called the
The shop.
and Patrick Mahomes is on the new episode, and it's pretty interesting.
That was great.
He talks about how he talks about Andy Reid and some of those plays, and it's if you get a chance to watch that, that's pretty cool. Just saying.
He hits a lot of stuff in that episode.
He had some really nice shoes on.
He hits some
Did you,
great.
you see the shoes he had on?
He did.
I'm like, didn't he have laces? I was like, those are probably $1,000 shoes.
That's in the Nigel Woodbury budget.
Yeah. Okay, give us your thoughts.
Well, that's a winner. I mean, can you about Jet Chip Wasps? Can you say anything other than that's a winner?
And what style is it?
Amber Ale.
Just an amber.
Mhm.
It's tasty.
We're all just gonna be quiet and drink
Yeah,
right now.
thank you.
No, it's really good. What else did you bring?
So Brad already mentioned the Yuppies and Blazers. That's
Right.
our Tangerine Milkshake IPA. Then we've also got the White Stout and our Orange Sherbet.
Right. So when I went to a beer festival a couple weeks ago, I probably got COVID-19 while I was there in New York.
Oh yeah.
Great,
So-
thanks.
Yeah.
As we lock ourselves in a vault.
Well, as long as I don't give you any droplets, you're good.
Hang on. I'm gonna grab the Lysol wipes and just scrub down.
So at Other Half Brewing in New York, in Brooklyn, they're called cream oat IPAs, which was a unique thing, and they're all doubles, so they're all like 10%. They're kind of like milkshake IPAs,
Okay.
but it's just a little bit of lactose, but a lot more oats. Super, super great beers. I had never heard of that being a thing.
Did you bring them back?
I know I drank them because I didn't. Brian, you have to understand. When I travel, I have a backpack. I don't bring shit back. It just never happens.
No checked baggage or anything like that.
No, that's too. No, too
No,
much. No.
checked baggage. No.
I mean, Blake talked about doing it, but I was like, no, I'm not doing that. So, because I like to travel light, man. I don't want to have to worry about that.
What were you out in New York for?
It was Other Half Brewing's Pastry Town Beer Festival.
Oh, okay.
So it was pastry stouts,
Okay.
pastries, and wrestling.
And
Yeah.
wrestling.
And wrestling.
Yeah, it was,
Okay.
dude. It was epic. So it was basically, it was probably the length of Lee Summit City Hall. What's that, Brad?
Did you win your match?
Goddamn right.
Did you go up against the Ultimate Warrior
Yeah.
in that match?
So every 45 minutes, they would have wrestling matches, and it was a 2-story festival. It probably had easily 80, 90 brewers.
Okay.
And it was like a fair for adults. I got my face painted like a wrestler. I had balloons. There was a
I gotta know, are there pictures?
absolutely.
Oh, those need to go out on the Twitter.
Yeah, I saw pictures with your face painted, but I had no idea what
You're like, what the hell's
what was
going on?
I just thought it was a good night, in New York City.
It was a great day.
Right on.
Let me go to one of these photos.
By the way, scrolling through your photos on your phone, that makes for fantastic audio.
Oh yeah.
It does.
Radio gold.
Radio gold.
I'm just gonna leave the camera on you as you thumb through there. We'll just waiting.
Oh, here you go.
Waiting.
I've got some video. Right, there you go, Brian.
Oh, it's sort of on camera.
Yeah.
There we go.
Yeah.
Did you have to
Wow.
have a name, a wrestling name, to get the face paint?
No, I was just there. I was there, so I'm like, let's do all the things.
Okay.
The photo booth, the balloons,
Mhm.
the beers, the wrestling. I've got some really great video of the wrestling.
The 6-pack smasher.
I'll have to edit some of
How's
that.
Nigel Mania.
Ooh.
That could be a beer.
I said, do you have what's your wrestling name? What would it be?
That's a good question. Maybe I'll use my radio name. You remember my radio name?
I can't remember. That was 2 episodes ago.
Nigel Knight with a K.
Suplexes with Nigel.
Nigel, I feel like that's somehow connected to Knight Rider. I want to put you in that car. And,
Knight Rider? I like that.
Love that show. Brad, while you were gone outside, ordering pizzas and all, we asked Brian. Obviously, you like your beer, but what are some of your favorites in Kansas City?
Oh, I have a lot.
Give him the question.
all right. We'll do it. We'll do it the same way. Let's see. You go to let's say New Axiom. What are you ordering?
I'm probably ordering a Mahazy.
Nice.
Yeah.
Where's New Axiom?
Yeah.
Oh boy, I'm gonna get in trouble here. Not New Axiom. I meant diametric. I really meant diametric.
Boy, I tell you, man, you're so 2019 right now, buddy.
Will I get a cease and desist?
No, you get no beer from them, I'm sure.
It's the last thing I want.
What about if you go to KC Beer, Brad? What's your go-to if you went there?
If I go to KC Beer, I mean, I'll probably start with a Dunkel or maybe a Hefeweizen.
Okay. What about Boulevard? What's your go-to Boulevard?
Just of beers that are year round, a Tank 7's always a kind of a classic.
That's what he said. You guys were
Yeah.
separated from birth.
Yeah. You can't go wrong with that beer.
No, you can't.
No.
I remember you remember when they first started putting it out in the bombers. Remember the bombers?
Yeah.
And you could buy it for like, I don't know, $12 and just get totally ripped.
Yeah.
Those were the best days ever, man.
Yeah.
Get 2 of those, you get to go.
It's not my favorite of the Boulevards. We had this confession on the show. Actually, that episode hasn't dropped yet, but I've had that.
So what is your favorite?
I would say the Dark Truth Stout is my
Oh,
favorite
okay.
Boulevard.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
That's a good one. But yeah, you're trying to get ripped then, aren't you?
Well,
Isn't that like a 10%?
Yeah.
when are we not?
Well, there's that. Because as he said before we came in tonight, he says, all we have left is drinking. Everything's closed down. All we do is drink.
Look, that's what's left is, some friends. Maybe we do a little FaceTime drinking because we can't sit at the bar together.
So do you think like DoorDash right now is like if you're door dashing, you're getting paid?
Wow, they're peaking right now.
Peaking.
So here's my question: is that the socially responsible thing to do?
To send a DoorDash person?
Yeah.
Order DoorDash.
I mean, is that putting them at risk?
I mean, personally for me, I'm going to cut out the middleman and go pick it up myself.
I would agree with that. There we go. That's one.
Finally, that was like a 4.
Yeah, yeah.
That was 4.
We're 3 beers in. That was the first one.
I don't understand why that was.
Yeah.
You need to put some more bubbles in your beer, Brian.
We do. We need to carbonate these a little bit more.
Nigel, I'm gonna ask you because I don't know if we've actually done this, but
What's that?
but if you go to KC Beer, what do you order?
That was pretty impressive right
That-
there.
I tried
Well-
to time it right in between when you guys were talking.
Well done. That might be edited at the beginning of the show.
We found our in-house can opener.
He's like the sound button, the loop.
Yeah.
Like,
I want to get
For
that
like-
for my text notification. Have that.
we can make that happen. That was good. That was a 5.
Yeah, thank you.
5. Wait, I saw you lean in on it.
Well, I was afraid it wasn't going to be there, and I wanted to emphasize as much as I could.
Now, if I'm going to KC Beer, and I've had a interesting history of KC Beer until I understood what they were doing. I wasn't a fan, and then I understood. Oh, they're doing German styles, specifically German styles, right? And then you're like, oh, now I get it. What's they have this one beer? It comes out seasonally. It's a high ABV.
Winterbach.
Yeah, you give me the Winterbach. That's that great beer.
I almost said that one.
Yeah, that's a really good beer. So yeah, there I'm gonna go Winterbach. But you can't get if I can't get it, I'll do. Well, I'll try whatever because I like the process of what they're doing, and once you understand that process, it's like we've talked about before.
There are no
There-
bad beers.
there's
There's very
no-
few.
No, because if a beer is done and it may not be your style. Whoa! There we go.
There it is. I wish I'd known it was coming. I would have flipped the camera.
Yeah,
What do we got here?
That was an 8. That was an 8 right there. That was a good one. That came from the bowels of hell right there.
I'm just warming up, guys.
Oh shit! But no, bad. If it's not your style, it doesn't mean it's bad, right? It's just not your style.
Yeah.
if you understand, if you have a little bit of knowledge about how beer's made, and you can understand, okay, it's true to style, it's fine. There's nothing wrong with it.
Mhm.
I hate these people on Untapped who give a beer one star. They're dumb.
How do you feel?
No, they're dumb. Don't rate it then if you don't like it. But at least get your beer knowledge up and understand what that style is about before you rail on it, right? But that's just me. I'm a beer snob, so that goes.
Do you feel that way about rating anything?
Rating? What else would I rate?
Well, I'm just saying, like, I mean, people
No,
you'll buy anything on
well-
Amazon and rate it, right? But
Well, true, but like food's different because food can suck.
Sure.
Food. Some foods can not be good. But beer. At least beer has a style and a formula of what it's supposed to be.
Mhm.
So-
I occasionally enjoy looking up the beers that are known as kind of the benchmark for a certain style,
Mhm.
and then seeing that they don't have a very high Untapped
Mhm.
rating. And
Right.
It's like this is the one that actually, is one of the pioneers of that style, and now
Right.
everybody's, people don't realize that that's kind of how we got to where we are with some of these beers. And Saison DuPont was one that I looked
Right,
up recently.
right.
And was amazed that it wasn't, mid to high fours. 'Cause
Right.
That's one of the first saisons in the world.
all right, let me ask you
Or
this.
commercial saisons in the world.
On that same topic. So my favorite Grains and Taps beer is the Gully Womp. I think that's damn near perfect. What was in your mind as you guys were making that one? What was the thing you were shooting for?
So I think that was actually Bigsby's homebrew recipe originally. So much along the same lines of where I kind of developed the red ale as a home brewer, and then kind of really wanted to bring that into the brewery when we started up. That was one he had, and it was kind of close to him, and he had worked on a lot as a home brewer, and so that was one that kind of got brought in on his side. So making it, like going through and making it, just hoping I didn't want to let him down, I wanted to,
Well, and I was just curious because based on
Yeah.
what you were just talking about was that there are benchmarks. There are some beers out there that are the standard. So I didn't know if you kind of had some of those in your mind as you're making some of these beers,
yeah, that's a good question for that one. I think that'd be
or any of them. That's just my favorite. I think when I go in.
There's definitely some beers where we look at, a style and we definitely we'll definitely sometimes even bring in other commercial examples to taste against and say, well, how is our beer different from other, if it's a English mild or something, how is this the same as other English milds? How is ours different? And is it, does what we just made fall into that category guideline of what that beer should be? So it's, there's always a kind of a calibration of your palate to say, you gotta try beer to understand beer. So you always gotta
Exactly.
try other beers.
Exactly.
It all seems magic to me. I cook. I love to cook, but beer, like baking, is a lot of rules and a lot of math. So it doesn't make any sense to me.
I mean, me being never homebrew to brew, but I've been on 100 brew days, probably 75 at Brian's house. I think
It's
it is.
magic.
It is like cooking.
Mhm.
I think.
No, there's too many rules and too much math.
No, it's a recipe. Yeah, there's rules for styles, but think about all the things that are. How do you think milkshake IPAs came about? Originally, they were just IPAs. That's just an offshoot of that recipe
Yeah.
to make it something different. It is. It's a lot like cooking. Wouldn't you agree?
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of experimentation, but I would agree with what he's saying.
There's a lot of science.
There's temperatures and times
Well, sure.
and measurement.
That's
but,
why they're all nerds.
within that kind of when you learn the structure of making beer as a home brewer, you kind of get past that initial wall of kind of fear of you don't want to screw this up.
Right.
Really everything is open for you to do. I mean, you can go in and follow, a particular set of guidelines to make a red ale or a pilsner, right? Because there are those guidelines out there. But then there's also the ability to get really creative and imaginative, and that's I think where New England IPAs kind of got birthed. That led into I think milkshake IPAs, brute IPAs. Then you even look further down the line of like pastry stouts,
Right.
and I think that has a lot of like homebrew roots and just being very experimentative and creative like that.
It's like one of my homeboys says. He says, you got to know the rules to break the rules.
Mm-hmm.
So if you don't know the rules, if you don't have the basics, well, you really can't break the rules. So again, just knowing the people that I know who are homebrewers, they're not all nerds. Quit saying that.
That's said with love. That's said with love.
I think most of them, all my homebrewer friends can fucking cook too. So there's that.
Yeah.
So I think there's a correlation to, I can't cook. That's why I shouldn't brew.
I love cooking. So
You see my point?
There's something very different. I cook. I'm a good cook. I cannot bake.
Okay, but you could be a good brewer. You could.
Yeah, I don't know.
Because you have to be very meticulous about certain.
Math frightens me.
That's why they have computers. Look, you're surrounded by brewers. You'll be fine. We're gonna make him brew a beer. That's what we're gonna. That's gonna be one of the episodes. We're gonna have him. We're gonna have him come to. We're gonna have him come to one of your classes. Yeah, hell yeah.
There we go.
Yeah, have to come to one of the classes.
I've gone to a few homebrew days. I usually tend to just kind of hang out and drink.
Yeah, we're gonna send you to Brian. It'll be fine.
Yeah, come on by, man. Actually, I brewed my first homebrew beer in like over a year, just the other week.
Really?
So, yeah.
I bet that was weird.
It felt great.
But it was you're like, oh wow.
Yeah. I didn't know if I'd be like totally amped up for it, but it reminded me of when I first started homebrewing again. And so I kind of had that like excitement and everything back in there. I mean, I get excited no matter when I brew, but it was kind of like I remember when I first started and like waking up, it was almost like on Christmas Day. Kind of having that excitement. And
that's pretty cool.
That thrill.
That's pretty cool.
Yeah, it reminded me of that. So,
hey, you want to learn something?
All right, let's do it. We got a word of the show.
Well, we already had a word. We had
millets.
Millet.
Yeah, millet.
So there's this lady on Twitter. Her name is M. Sauter. She's I'll cut that out. She puts things on. She does these infographics, right?
Yeah, I follow her.
Yeah.
I'm familiar.
So I thought this would be great for Nick to get a little. L is for lager.
Reading Rainbow Time?
Yes. And I'll put this on the screen when I edit this thing. You know what I'm saying? So this is interesting. You know what a lager is?
I call it the plain beer.
That is so wrong.
Well, that's the beer, uncles. When you're first getting your beer and the uncle snuck you the beer, it was a lager.
Lager is not a bad word, man.
No, I didn't say it was a bad word.
You said it. What'd you say it was?
It was like the plain beer. It was what you started.
It's not the plain beer. Lagers can be wonderful if you know.
It's not. I'm not meaning that bad.
Okay,
I'm just saying that's before you get into all this.
All right, fermented cooler than ale, usually followed by a period of weeks or months, depending on style of cold maturation. Not in the Rockies. Lager yeast, Saccharomyces pasteurianus. Is that how you pronounce that? Lagers are the most popular beers in the world. Did you know that?
I did.
How'd you know that?
Because that's the beer that everybody drinks. That's what makes it the plain beer.
Historically, lagers.
That's your Millers?
The word comes from lagern. Did you know that?
No.
Which is the German word for store, to store, where matured in caves or cellars. So can we do like a cave aged lager at Grains and Taps? So we go find a cave.
We might have to start digging.
Look, there's caves near us.
So now you know about lagers.
You gotta get through the Defense Department, but there's caves near us.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a different deal right there.
Ready to open another one?
Let's go mystery. Let's go mystery beer.
I'm gonna while you get the mystery beer, I want to ask. So what was this one?
So that one was the white stout.
It's awesome, but there's something that I didn't expect. What is that flavor?
So we aged that on cacao nibs and coffee beans.
That's what it was. I think because it's not dark like a coffee, but I'm still tasting it. I'm like, wait, what's this?
Yeah, that's kind of the unique thing about that style. It has that, typical, pale ale, kind of that golden look to it. But then you get all of the roasty flavors that you get out of a stout. So it's kind of messes with your eyes a little bit.
So tell him how
it's awesome.
How it's not dark. How do you make that happen?
Well, we just age it in the secondary with cacao nibs and coffee. So instead of using like roasted malts that you would use in a stout like Gully Womp or what was it? Oatmeal astronaut. What was it again? Astronaut cookies.
Yeah.
Unlike that where you're using roasted grains in that, we are using chocolate and cacao and coffee beans in the secondary and just kind of letting it age and marinate on that. And so you maybe pick up a little bit of a color change, but with that volume of beer, you're not really getting a lot. Most of it just kind of comes over in like flavor and aroma.
Leader in the clubhouse tonight.
Oh, that's your favorite?
That's my favorite so far. That's the leader in the clubhouse.
I'm going to hand you the next mystery beer, sir.
All right. What do we got here? 405 Brewing. This is the FDR.
What do you think 405 Brewing's from?
I don't know my area codes.
Well, damn, then you don't know that.
I was just gonna get on Google on that.
That would be Oklahoma.
Oh, then I can't. I can't do that. Nobody.
That's good.
Nigel.
6.5.
And I realized where you're from, your youth. But what good came from Oklahoma?
Wow, this guy, he's
man.
really judging.
Yeah, wow.
Don't ask him about St. Louis because he'll really go nuts then.
Oh,
Or pickles.
I told you I would drink the pickle beer. I would try it. I just think pickles are evil.
There's a pickle beer out of his brewery in Fort Worth that's so ridiculous, and he's like, pickles are from the devil.
They are.
I'm like,
I'd eat a pickle before I'd root for the Cardinals.
here we go. So we got him triggered. Got him triggered. That wasn't very good.
No.
You need to work with Brian on cracking the
yeah, it
beers.
was a very generic crack.
That's what she said.
No enthusiasm in that one.
Yeah, none at all.
We've got an Imperial Stout brewed with coffee, the FDR.
What's the ABV on that? Can you see that?
12%.
Perfect. That really going up.
I'm excited about this one.
I'm going to say it's not as thin as the last one.
Have you had this already?
No. You know who sent me that? Kenny. You guys remember Kenny?
Yeah.
Kenny comes to Blarney every year, and we try to kill him. It's fine. Oh my God!
You killed Kenny.
We killed him a couple years ago.
So is there a connection between FDR and Oklahoma?
I have no idea. What does FDR mean? Did you read the can?
No.
It might mean something different. Anything? Anyone?
I don't read.
You read the ABV.
Oh boy! Wait a minute! I got to switch over to this. I need to get a wide shot of the two of them leaning in. Oh, Brad, you moved.
Yeah, I don't really.
There, look at them study. Look at them study.
I don't see anything broken down.
Maybe I'll look it up on Untapped. How about that? Oh, we were supposed to get you on Untapped. He's not on Untapped. One of these days, Nick.
All right.
You can already tell this one's good. Look at the head. Oh yeah, it smells good.
All right. I'm gonna download while you guys drink and talk.
You're gonna download what?
We're a little quieter this episode.
Dude, have you seen the world lately?
It's weird, man.
The only thing we have left to do is drink.
That was a sad laugh.
That would be a good beer name.
All we have left to do is
Just drink, yeah.
That's a long beer name.
We'll just do that. We'll do the acronym. You want to go
Let me
with
get
it?
in on that face.
You want to go ahead and decipher that for me? All AW. Help me.
WLTD.
Does that spell anything? That'd be yeah.
All did.
There you go.
All did.
That's good.
See that sometimes in our we talked about those meetings where we we're hashing out, what our beer names are going to be.
Right.
Sometimes we do take a little bit of mercy on our staff that's going to be serving these beers because we know if we make the name too hard, it's going to be hard for them to communicate with the customer who's standing there trying to order a all did and
Oh, okay. Kind of like Regal, whatever it was, Repma.
Regal Redma. You read that one backwards though, didn't you?
Yes.
That was our amber lager.
Yes.
And an amber lager backwards.
So nobody was confused about that.
Oh, people were confused.
That people get confused about beer names. I mean, people still call a diametric. Give me that Pat Mahomes beer. It doesn't say Pat Mahomes.
TD Tossin, Patrick McHazy.
Patrick Mahazy.
Yeah.
Yeah, not McHazy.
Well, some people still get the name of the brewery wrong. Oops.
Well, there's that, right?
I actually do. I feel a little bad about that
Why?
because of the crap they went through on their name.
I actually run into the problem where now that I've gotten used to calling them
Diametric.
correct name,
Right.
I think I'm wrong, and I try to revert to back to. It's like, no, I can't call them that. Yes, that is actually the name I'm now supposed to call
Yeah.
them, but
Brian, what you got there, bud?
So I'm just looking up the FDR
Right.
with this beer. It doesn't say officially that they've done it, but I think I've connected the dots here a little bit. So it's saying on Untapped that they've used coffee is brewed with the Fireside Blend, roasted by Prelude Coffee and Roasters of Oklahoma City. And so the Fireside Chat
Yeah.
There we go.
FDR's
Okay.
chat. So
Okay.
I think that's the connection with FDR.
Okay. Shout out to Kenny from Oklahoma City. Thank you for the beer mail.
thank you, Kenny.
Yeah.
We love you, Kenny.
Good.
We may not see you till August, but we love you.
I'm sorry that they tried to kill you.
Well, in his defense, he tried to kill himself. There's that. So anyway, so we got 2 more grains and taps beers to go.
We do.
I'm gonna say this: these guests came loaded more than any other guest.
Yeah, you guys are.
We didn't want to let you down.
I didn't think you would.
No.
All right,
Nick, what are you doing over
I'm
there?
creating my account.
Oh, he's he's getting on
Nick-
Untapped.
Oh,
Nick
it's
is
happening right
becoming
now.
an untapped
Wow.
member before your very ears.
Yeah, it's not happening.
Why not?
I got to come up with a different name.
Oh,
Come up with a name.
Did you just try Nick?
Nick Parker, the
Nick.
12 Nicks.
Nick 6.
Like Parker is like the 7th most common name in our country.
It probably is. Hey, let's talk about one we haven't talked about because I was talking to somebody yesterday and Blarney Brew Off. That's been a staple in downtown Lee Summit for years. I had some people, I think it was Sunday at Diametric, was like, you know about Blarney Brew Off? I'm like, no, I've never been to that. What's that? Tell me a little bit about. For those who don't know, it's a great homebrew festival where homebrewers come. There's competition. There's a lot of things going on. How did that all come about?
So the very first Blarney Brew Off, I met with. I went to the meeting for the parade that occurs, every Snake Saturday down
Right.
here in Lee Summit. And one of the organizers for the parade asked me if we would plan a beer tasting to go between the Irish breakfast and the parade. So we started a homebrew beer tasting where we had the first year, I think we had 8 to 10 homebrewers pouring on the back of a neighboring bar. We had about 60 people attend and just taste some homebrew and go around and do samples and everything. And that's kind of how it started. It was just an activity to fill the time between 2 other downtown Lee Summit activities on the parade day.
And so from year 1 to year 2, what changed?
So everybody, first off, everybody that was at it, great feedback, but everybody said, okay, you got to get bigger for next year. So next year we moved it to the adjacent parking lot, and probably had 250 people in that parking lot. And then every year it kind of, for a while, it doubled. And this last March, it was close to 900 people. And
And what was the first year? What year was that?
the first year was March of 2014.
Wow,
So
that's
this
yeah.
last one was the 6th. 2019
Right.
was the 6th Blarney Brew Off. And then
that's been. I mean, you've probably even before, the whole leap to being a pro, where you were there doing your thing.
Yeah.
I mean, it's been cool to watch some of these people who are brewing these beers. You're like, this is a home brew. It's pretty impressive. The people who show up to this thing.
That whole event has been awesome to watch. I mean, just from the outside. I mean, Brad, we both do stuff all around downtown here, but just to watch it go from that little 8 brewers and then you walked into those tents last year, and holy moly!
right, and there's a whole lot of breweries that are open today in Kansas City that were at one
Right.
point,
That's true.
doing the
Yeah.
festivals and they were participated in the Blarney Brew Off, and that's really cool to see. That's one of my favorite things about having a part in this festival was now you can look and you can see Wind Shift and Diametric
Right.
and Strange Days. Those are all breweries that took part in the East 40.
Right.
Everybody at some point entered into that festival
Right.
and poured beer. Let
What
everybody
was
come taste their beer.
what was it like to I've been to your house and you've
Uh-huh.
poured beers, blah blah blah. You go to one of those things and there's 500 people.
Oh, yeah.
What's that like to go from being in your garage to serving that many people?
Well, the first year I did it, I was extremely nervous.
Were you?
Oh yeah, absolutely. Because I was just at my, maybe my 1 year anniversary of the first beer I ever made, and I was still brewing extracts, and I knew I was going up against other individuals who were doing all grain and had been doing it for years and years and years, and so. Yeah, I just kind of wanted to get into it just for the experience and just kind of have fun with it.
Right.
I kind of set that goal for myself the next year as a home brewer, just kind of do competitions and kind of see where I was at as far as brewing goes. And I was extremely nervous getting everything set up, but at the end of it, it was just loved every single minute of it. I mean, it was just a blast serving my beers to people and getting the feedback that I got on them. That was a lot of fun. Tasting other home brews, talking to those guys. So it was a blast. And then did it for several years after that. But yeah, it's a lot of fun. And kind of alluding to what you were saying, brewers have really stepped up, and I'm amazed every single year just the quality of beers, but then also to kind of the pageantry that the brewers will have
Right.
with their beers and kind of everything that kind of goes into their displays and their spiel and everything behind it. So it's really cool to watch every single year how
Yeah.
everyone's kind of evolved.
Everything from costumes to facades of
Right.
their serving bar. They bring their own bars and
Right.
just elaborate tap system setups that are awesome to look at. I mean, it goes beyond just the beer, the passion and everything they pour into bringing to festivals.
Right.
Yeah, I remember one year we had a old VW bus that got converted
I
over.
Yeah.
I remember
was,
that.
That van is from Velo Garage,
Mhm.
which is a place that serves craft beer
Right.
now, and they do bike repairs, I believe, as
Right.
well.
Oh.
But it was they were not under the name at that point, but that was Strange Days Brewing.
Was it really?
Oh,
Really?
wow,
They
okay.
won that year. Yeah,
Huh.
they were under a different name, their
Wow.
homebrew name, and then
Oh, I did not know that.
they switched their name and when they became pro, because everybody kind of goes through this
And-
discovery period of what's an actual available name out there. And I don't know their story. So
Yeah,
they could've
but
just
even looking back over the years on Blarney, you're right. There was a lot of people who were there that have gone pro. I mean, and even whether it be Parkville or what's the other one, Nano.
Mm-hmm.
I mean,
I just got an email popped up. Looks like Parkville is going to be October 17th.
they're going to move it.
They've
That's
moved
It's
it.
getting moved.
But even those little festivals. I mean, take Service Brewing. Courtney Service and those guys.
Mm-hmm.
They started popping up these festivals. At every festival, I was like, where are they? And I would hunt them down, even at Lost Township, where they're professional brewers. But also, I'd be like, there's certain things I'm looking for, and I would go look for them. It's it's kind of cool how Kansas City. I don't know what other cities are like in the homebrew, crowd who have gone, from these festivals to jumping to professional brewers, because I don't know of cities. I know their festivals and their professional brewers, but I don't know very many festivals that really embrace.
Hit us up
The
with
home
hit
brewers.
us up with your favorite local homebrew festivals. We might come out. Find Beers with Nigel on Twitter. Hit us up.
Yeah, that's true. I mean, I like them all. I mean, I just think
It's a lot of fun to look at them and to see what they do and how they present. It's cool
Yeah.
to see all the setups.
There's an aspect of homebrewing, the beers you will get at a homebrew festival that I think if you're not familiar with, the craft beer community or the homebrew community, you might just think that the homebrew festival is a lesser product that
Right.
you would get to go
Right.
to, when in reality, a lot of times that's where you're going to get to try something incredibly unique.
Yes.
Because when that home brewer is making 5 gallons of one thing and their only goal is to impress their friends,
Right.
they can throw off the wall stuff into that beer,
Right.
and you can end up with a product that is truly unique. Whereas if you're a brewery making 50 barrels at a time, you maybe can't go out and throw that crazy ingredient in
Right.
there and expect to do that at that scale. Whereas a home brewer, their only goal is to impress their friends.
Right.
So it's kind of like a small batch, chef or something like that,
Yeah.
where they are just experimenting with something,
Right.
and maybe it doesn't always turn out great, but the one that does turn out great, they're going to bring it to that festival,
Yeah.
and you're going to try something that you maybe wouldn't otherwise get to try.
Yeah, I think maybe Kansas City is a little bit unique. When I went to, we always talk about Fresh Fest in Pittsburgh. When I went up there, they probably had 200 brewers, and they had some home brewers, but it didn't seem as concentrated as what we do here. Go for it.
There
I'm
we
telling
go.
you, I tell
There's
you
a
what.
little spray out of the top there.
You've got skills, man. I'm telling you.
Thank
We're going to get you a contract. He's going to be an official.
The official Beers with Nigel can opener.
Right.
The sound effects of Beers with Nigel.
Folio artist.
Who does the I guess of the pros? Who's doing the crazy stuff though that you talked about? Because when you start making it a bigger level, it's harder to take those risks. Who is taking those risks? Do you think?
And I think everybody does a little bit of their own thing. Everybody's kind of got some of that they're throwing out there right now. Nigel mentioned Service does a lot of the pastry and fruited.
Yeah, fruited.
type
Yeah,
beers.
yeah.
And, but I do think it is, as you get more and more of the homebrew crowd moving into
Right.
pros, you do see a little bit more experimentation, and that's also kind of where craft beer has headed at this.
And I wouldn't say those are risky because, what they do at Service or what they do at Diametric, if we all know Mac, and he's always been, I want to push the envelope. I mean, they have a Tequila Sunrise mead right now.
Holy moly, that sounds wrong and amazing.
It's amazing if you want to get drunk.
Well, and I think there's a big difference between being risky and taking a risk, right?
Right.
Does that make sense? I think you take a risk by trying something new, but it's not necessarily like, I don't know, I semantics, maybe.
Well, I think, everybody's palate, there's something for everybody, right?
Yeah.
I mean, that's why even, they're doing the meads over there. Nobody really does meads in Kansas City. Maybe a couple other places, but it broadens the base for a customer who comes in, I don't like beer or something, right? Well, try this or try that. I mean, Tony's good at that. You guys are good at that because you have some things that are approachable, even for those people who, and we, they're the Bud Light drinker. Well, no, try this. Try the amber. Try the lager, and then they realize, oh, this is better than the macro lager. So, if your palette of beers per se can be wide, there's going to be something for everybody, right? I mean, that's what you're kind of in. You want to be able to have anybody in there, and they can find something that they like. I mean, that's the point, right?
Yeah, absolutely.
So-
That was actually one of my favorite things as a bartender before we started brewing, and I was working the bar more. Was you would have guests that would come in specifically for the craft beer, but then they would have a friend that would come with them that necessarily wasn't into craft beer or
Right.
hadn't really been exposed to something like that, and so they're either wine drinkers or
Right.
they're strictly
Right.
a Bud Light, Budweiser kind of a drinker, and so that was one of my favorite things is finding that particular
Yeah.
beer
Yeah.
or style
Yeah.
that I could get them hooked on, or I could give them a little sample, of
Yeah.
it, and they'd be like, "Oh, hey, I actually like
Yeah,
that."
that's my favorite part.
Yeah, I really enjoyed finding that. And I found a lot of wine drinkers, people who enjoyed wine, would come in and really get attached to like the sour styles, and they didn't even know
Exactly.
that
That was
was
a thing, right.
Yeah, so
Yeah.
you kind of like open their eyes to it, and then you would see them come in the next time and then ask for a sour, and then as time would go on, all of a sudden, they're like looking for specific sour beers, or they know a particular brewery that just does sours, and so they're always looking for that one brewery. And so I always kind of liked getting people kind of hooked onto it.
Yeah, that to me, that's the fun part of it. Bartending is like, oh, you don't like beer?
Yeah,
Oh, hold on.
yeah,
I'll be right back.
yeah.
And then they're like, is that beer? Yeah, it's beer.
Well, and I think the
I mean,
Craft-
Nick doesn't even like beer.
well, let's not go that far.
Look at it.
Let's not go that far. But I think the craft beer scene can be a little intimidating. I think from the outside, it's a pretty.
What do you mean intimidating? What do you mean?
I think it's a pretty tight culture, a tight knit group. I think everybody has a fear of entering something that's a little snobby, right? Nobody wants to be judged, right? I mean, hey, I like Miller. Are they going to judge me for that? So we talk a lot about bringing more people in, so it's not always just old white dudes.
That's got to be your perspective, obviously, because I don't think the craft beer community is unwelcoming.
No, I think any group that is on such a tight niche can be a little intimidating for other people to come in. So that
here we go. We talk about this every episode. We talk about diversity and inclusion, right?
That's other stuff,
right. And
which by the way, this beer is fantastic.
No, that beer
what is this?
That's really good.
So that one is the Yuppies and Blazers. That's the tangerine milkshake.
That's fabulous.
Fantastic. Yeah. Sorry, go on.
No, but we talk about it's each individual that walks into a place. Their experiences that determine, can I do this? Am I comfortable here? That's a whole different conversation about whether that craft beer is diverse or not. That's a different conversation.
I think but I still think it's about bringing people in. So whether it's bringing them in because they're women, because they are people of color, or whether it's anybody, I think that's inclusion is a thing unto its own.
Well, we talk about this every episode, all 5 episodes. Whose job is it to bring, whether it be women or Latino or Black or Asian or Latino, into a brewery, right? Mm-hmm. Whose job is it? My perspective is it's everybody's job, because you guys are small business owners. You don't have marketing per se, right? You're busy working. Boulevard has marketing.
Right.
They can hold events and say, okay, blah, 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 we're going to do this or the other. You guys are busy working. But on the flip side, you want your business to be diverse. You want to see more than one particular population because it's good for your bottom line, right? So my thing is, and we've talked about this all the time, is that my job is to, via this podcast, or via my friends, hey, this is the thing in downtown Lee Summit. Your job is maybe not the same thing, but there's some responsibility on all our parts to be, okay, how do we make this more diverse? Because obviously craft beer in Kansas City is pretty white. It is, which is fine. But again, we're missing a whole population of people that don't know craft beer exists. And it's not because you don't want them to come in. It's because they don't know. Mm-hmm. So how do we make them know that it's a thing? We had this conversation several times. Alma Mater, Boulevard, and all those breweries around there, they're in the hood. Most of that neighborhood is Latino. And I asked the guy that owns Alma Mater, I'm like, hey, do you get any like Latino people coming here? Like every once in a while somebody will wander in. But other than that, no. So how do we, as the beer community, say, okay, there's other people who don't know about this great product. How do we get them involved? So that's how this damn podcast started. You guys have any thoughts on that? I know it's a tough question.
I think I think one of the biggest responsibilities we have is to kind of build a environment and a tap room where everybody feels welcome, and kind of going back to Nick maybe bringing up, a little bit of snobbishness. Anybody walking in that's new to the product, it's got to be welcoming. It's got to be more of a learning experience about here's what this product is, here's what this community is, and not oh well, I know a lot more than you about this because you're new to it or whatever. I think that's one of the easiest ways you can turn people away. And
What do you think, Brian?
I think it comes to education.
Right.
I mean, and I think that's kind of one of the unique things about what Grains and Taps kind of started from their roots because of the homebrew store, and having people come in there who not only didn't know anything about beer, in my case, in general, coming in there and starting out, but people didn't know anything about brewing,
Right.
And then teaching them what beer is, how beer is made. And then you kind of open their eyes up to a variety of styles and maybe unique breweries that were out there that maybe do different things that they weren't used to,
Right.
different things besides what Budweiser or Coors are doing.
Right.
So I think it really just all boils down to just education,
Right.
just getting information out there to people. I mean,
And that's been my thing. It's like, if you don't know, you don't know about this beer until I present it to you. It's not. There's no conspiracy. I'm not trying to hide. We're not trying to hide the beer from people, right?
right.
It's about how do we get out there in these communities that don't know that it's a thing. So, I think it's a hard question, but I think in Kansas City, I think most of the people that I know that are brewers are committed to saying, okay, how can we, diversify, and present our product to more people than the people who are just seeking it.
I think a few things. One, I think the beer community was one of the things that's really cool is people like you, Nigel, Alana, who was on our episode earlier, have kind of just taken upon themselves to become an ambassador. That's awesome, and that doesn't happen in every niche, right?
We are very lucky to have Nigel and Alana both.
Aw.
Kind
Aw.
of.
Suck it up to the host. You gotta love that.
You get a
But-
beer.
There's actually people used to ask Nigel. He would be in our tap room introducing people to some of our beers, and they'd be
Right.
like, "Oh, you work here?" And he's like, "No, I just drink here." Nobody expects just another patron to be
Right.
so forthcoming with you got to try this and this
Yeah.
you drank that, you're gonna like this, and
Yeah.
there's just an amount of just outgoingness that both Nigel and Alana have kind of jumped into the craft beer community and really spread.
Hey, Brad. Back in the day when the deal spot, people were like, "Is this your place?"
Yeah,
But you did-
I'd be standing at the back of the wall, just kind of people like, "Is this yours?" I'm like, "It depends what you mean."
He did have his own kind of norm-esque
If they're-
spot in that bar.
if they're bringing a bill or something.
yeah. Just give me that bill. I'll sign off on that shit.
The other two things is you brought up. They're doing their business. They're trying to work.
Right.
And I think as a guy that lives a little bit in the marketing world and a former marketing director, I'll say most small businesses, that's the last thing they think of is the marketing, and that's the nature of the beast, right? Is because you're doing your job trying to think of it. But the other thing I think is really cool is the change to the more tap room style, and I'm going to use Diametric and Fringe as my example on this. That it's just a bunch of big family tables, and so you're forced to kind of jump in when you walk in the bar. You're forced to jump into that and just sit with people and start talking.
We've talked about that. That's the future of craft beer. It's these neighborhood tap rooms.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you guys, when you go in there, it's not like going to Boulevard's a different animal, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's a different animal. It's tourist and there's some beer drinkers there, but it's different. But these small little places, whether it be Grains or Fringe or Diametric or East 40, it's people's. Oh, that's my place. You
Right.
know, they go there because that's where they go. I mean, there's certain people that I see at Grains and Taps that don't go to Fringe, and vice versa. They might stop in for a beer, but that's
They have their bar.
Yeah, it's that tribal thing that we have. You know, when I lived in L.A., there was this bar we used to go to. It was called the Liquid Zoo, and it was just one of
Wow.
those places where I lived in the valley. We didn't go to any other bar because that was our bar, right? And breweries are the same way, especially when it's in a neighborhood. I'm telling you, there's certain people that come to Grains and Taps that I only see them there. That I don't see them anyplace else, and I go to a lot of breweries. So I think,
I just claim all of downtown as my bar.
yeah, but you don't really live downtown, so there's that. You're like one block over. You can claim it if you want. I'm not allowing that.
Wow, I live one block farther than you.
Dude, you're off the beaten path. Sorry, sir. You live closer to John Bedoin than downtown. But I think that neighborhood thing is like, it's not about a giant spot or whatever. It's about that place where you can go and chill. And you guys have benefited from the first location. That was a unique spot. I mean, and Fringe has capitalized on that because that's still a unique spot. But at least when you moved and got bigger, it's still translated, and there's still Grains and Taps love. So I'm happy that's still a thing, because again, people like that familiarity. Oh, I'm going to go and do this and do that. That's why I think when you guys started doing food, that was a game changer, I thought, because then people can hang out even longer, right? They don't have to go across to Conrad's or whatever. They can sit there for hours on end.
Well, I think a lot of that comes into play too. Like think about who you guys have behind your bar, and same with a bunch of the others. Is we've got to know them because you haven't had to change staff, and I think you're not used to that. I think with a lot of bars, that seems new to me in the last few years. That, I think you can have the same people for years.
Well, I think having Brian, and Brad, that's been the constant, and so that's familiar for people. Because I work at two breweries, and people ask me about you guys. Have you been to Grains and Taps? Nah, I don't know those guys. Sorry. Who? So I think what you guys are doing. I think once we get through this COVID-19 shit, I think 10, 15 years from now, there's no reason why Grains and Taps shouldn't be a thing still. So I like that.
What's the plan for you guys? I mean, we've talked about how you've gone from that tiny little place to the bigger place. Then you added your own brewing. You added food. What are the plans?
I mean, the immediate plan right now, it's just kind of
Get past COVID-19.
Everything has gone from what is the plan for the next year to let's get through these next 2 weeks, and that's kind of all I think probably any small business is thinking right now. And I really I think that is the plan, and I think in 2 weeks then we figure out what is the plan for the next year. But right now I would just think that's the only thing anybody can think about.
I agree, and that's it. And after I said, I was like, "That's totally unfair." I mean, look, we're both small business owners. I mean, it's hard.
6 days ago, you would have asked me that, and I probably would have given a completely different answer.
Let me rephrase it. Let me put it this way: if you look at Grains and Taps now, if you take a few steps back, and you look at it, and you try to ignore what we're all dealing with right now, but is it in a place that you dreamed 10 years ago?
Honestly, it's just kind of taken a life of its own. And I mean, it's gone, it went from where we started, down in that other building to, needing the bigger space. And we've kind of just kind of rode it. And it's, some of it's the ideas that we've had, but some of it's the way that, what our customers wanted. And we've kind of tried to follow that as well. So it's a lot of fun just seeing kind of where it goes. I mean, we try to steer it, but we also try to follow what the people who are coming there want, because I think their opinion is probably way more important than what we want to do with it. I mean,
The customer, no.
Well, I just thought it was interesting because when you first started, it was like, oh, that's the supply store. And
Yeah,
then
and
the beer to me, from just the outsider, as I got to know you guys, the bar side of it, the beer part, was just like this bonus that just happened.
yeah, and that's something we always kind of fought as an identity crisis. Was we opened the homebrew supplies while we were getting our liquor license to do the rest, and there's still a lot of people that are just like, oh, well, that's just a homebrew supply store. So that's a little bit of an identity thing that we've fought for 7 years. And
Right.
if we could go back, we would probably wait and open everything at the same time. Just once we had our liquor license, be a tap room that sells homebrew supplies, because it's definitely been a challenge, but it's been a fun challenge to overcome.
I don't think we've said it, but since then, as part of that growth, your supply store is totally separate now. It's in a whole other building.
Yeah, the brewery started taking over the back half of our building, and it became pretty quickly evident that we couldn't fit the homebrew supply store and the brewery back there. The supply store kind of turned into a file system of it was no longer a store where you could come in and browse. You would come in and you would ask the whoever was working there, hey, do you have this part?
Right.
And they would get on a step stool and they would reach up into a box on a shelf and be like, yes, we keep these right here, and that's how you would buy stuff there. So it's moved into its own building a few blocks away. You can actually walk in and see the products that you're
It's quite
going
lovely.
to buy.
The
Yeah,
building- the building is quite lovely.
it's a real retail store now.
Yes, and that's kind of what it started as, and then kind of morphed into, got kind of consolidated, and now it's kind of morphed back into almost what it was when we began.
We talked about the pub crawl. I remember the one of the first pub crawls, and as the bar got going, and we were all kind of dodging around the shelves because you were packed in that little place.
So as we were preparing for what ended up being the canceled pub crawl this Saturday, I was kind of telling some of our newer staff that wasn't around back then. I was explaining to them, well, we used to get a U-Haul the night before the pub crawl
and move everything.
Oh, by the way, the Blarney Brew Off was also on the same day as the pub crawl.
Right.
So we would do it in the morning. The night before, we would take every piece of furniture and all of the inventory of the homebrew store. We would shove it into a U-Haul truck. So we would have that whole building for the pub crawl.
Yeah.
We would do the pub crawl, and then at 1:30 in the morning,
Bring it back.
we would run all of the fixtures and inventory back into the building so we could sell homebrew supplies on Sunday. And
Those were the days.
Yeah,
I
those
don't
are the long
miss
days.
those pub crawls.
I gotta say though, just from the outside and having been around this little district for a while, watching it, it's pretty cool to watch it go from that to what it is now. So you guys ought to have a little pride when you step back and look.
Well, thank you.
Well, as we wrap this party up, Brian's been dying to open that last.
He's got
beer.
one more to do. Let me
He was
get
holding
the camera on him.
He was holding it for a long time. He
All
was
right,
like,
hold that up. What do we
wanna
got?
get
What's
the
this next one?
This is one I would probably say one of the more popular ones that we have.
Absolutely. It's one of our more popular series as well. And this is something Brian came up with. It was one of the first beers.
Stop talking so I can open it. Go for it.
Oh no! Oh,
I
got to tell you, there's a part of me that's a little worried.
think he got some beer droplets on his face.
I got it.
Nah, it's the microphone I'm worried about.
Beer droplets.
Should have had my safety glasses in there.
I'm not gonna lie to you. I'm a little worried about the electronics. Gonna have to sanitize
As you were saying, Brad, what's this beer?
Is that Ben's mic or is that your mic?
No, these are all mine.
Oh.
Like, I want you to know something. The only thing left in here that was purchased by Ben, who developed the building, is up on a shelf. It's this mic. Since then, I've replaced everything.
Was that on video?
No.
Oh, that's
Damn
too
it.
bad. Oh man,
You were supposed to get him. You had the opportunity to switch to his face.
Here. Be a cameraman, Nigel. Turn that little one there.
Which one? Where am I turning it?
Here, just swivel around.
ABR, always be
Oh, there we
recording.
go. See this? That's all that's left.
AB what?
ABR,
Always be recording.
always.
Yours
See
is
that-
right. Yours is right there, sir.
You see that car out in the parking lot? You know why I got that? Because I got a big set of these.
Okay, that's fun.
You don't remember Glenn Ross?
I do. That's one of my favorite movies. AB, ABC.
Coffees for closers.
You can always be closing. So, fellas, as we close, as we're in this weird, bizarre world of COVID-19, what would you say to your fellow brewers and to the people who support the breweries? Give me something, Brian.
What would I say? As a home brewer at heart, I'm extremely glad that I know how to make beer at home.
Smart guy. Smart guy right there.
Dang it.
It's paid off in more ways than one, for sure. Just be vigilant, clean, healthy, take care of yourself.
What about
calm.
what about the consumers who are? What do you say for them to help the brewers?
Stock up on beer. Stock up on beer, T-shirts, taster glasses, hats, stickers.
All the things. Hashtag
yeah.
all the things.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, definitely. There's people out there who love craft beer and have kind of grown to love their unique styles or particular breweries that maybe make a variety of styles. Don't forget about them. Keep supporting them.
Right.
For sure.
Brad, what you got?
Not a lot to add to that. Just, I mean, we've already been very humbled by the amount of people that have already been just trying to come out. Just today, our first day of being open
Right.
for only to-go sales, and we had a lot of to-go sales, and it
That's
seemed
awesome.
like people were, coming in wanting to help, wanting to be a part of. This is, supporting small businesses.
Right.
And I know those were the same people going across the street grabbing a burger and
Right.
grabbing takeout from all these small businesses, but. There's a lot down here, and it's
Sorry.
There we go.
was weak.
We it's gonna be 2 weeks of this, and we're hoping it
Right.
it goes as fast as possible. But we're incredibly appreciative of all the support that people are showing, and kind of sharing the social media that we're putting out about the to-go sales, and but also we hope everybody's staying safe and
Right.
and keeping their families hands washed and all the stuff that you've heard a million times from
Right.
every.
Well, we appreciate you guys coming on. It's been interesting and awesome to kind of get because I've known you guys forever, but some of these stories I haven't heard. So that's been kind of cool to see how the Grains and Taps empire, started. Nick, you got anything before we go?
Nah, just thanks, guys. That was fun. Thank you for coming on the show, and thank you for making beer that I like.
Thank you guys for
thank
having
you.
us.
Hey, y'all, wash your hands, apparently.
It's a big deal.
What's rule number 1, Nick?
Always, always, always.
That's
Have your thing of Lysol.
that's not rule number 1. Rule number 1 is don't die.
Yeah.
Thanks, guys, for listening to Beers with Nigel. We'll see you on the next show. Peace. We out.
We're done. Hey, guys, that was awesome. Thank you. Hey, we stayed under 2 hours.
Did we?
You have been listening to Beers with Nigel, a show about beer and other stuff, hosted by Nigel Woodbury and that other guy, Nick Parker. Beers with Nigel is a proud member of the Fredcast Network, and it's available on your favorite podcast apps. Connect with us on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram at Beers with Nigel.